According to the Coraline door theory, after Coraline goes through the tunnel once, everything around her becomes a simulation, which would mean these aren't her real parents. First, we need to study her actual real parents. We meet Coraline's mom first, who we see in the kitchen glued to her laptop. She seems like a real downer and barely even talks to Coraline, literally only delivering one-word responses like and not to mention not letting Coraline do anything fun, which is honestly like typical parent stuff. Anyway, she tries to get rid of Coraline, which she does, and Coraline goes to her dad, who is also just typing away on his computer, looking extremely depressed. The dad honestly talks more to Coraline than her mother, actually seeming a little bit more interested in the conversation, but he, just like her mom, is trying to get rid of her. But at least when he does it, I guess it's a little more meaningful. He takes a break from his computer and gives her a task to do. Count all the doors and windows and list everything blue. Then says a pretty rude statement of, just let me work. Then we see the mom again, when Coraline finds a door to the tunnel and asks her mom for the key. And the only reason her mom gets her the key is so she can shut up. Honestly, this is barely any information on them. So we need to pay extremely close attention to the next part, because it's the only time they aren't on their computers. So it's dinner time, and the dad is serving the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life, while singing some weird song about porridge. But this honestly shows like the funny side of the dad while trying to stay positive during a rough time, because her parents look very depressed. And that could be because earlier they talked about getting in a car accident, hence the neck brace. Anyways though, obviously Coraline gets upset because the food is garbage. So she asks her mom why she never cooks, and she says, I clean, your dad cooks, and you just stay out of the way. Which is kind of sad. Her parents literally just shove her to the side constantly. And while her parents have sucked so bad so far, her mom does show for once some consideration, saying, I'll go food shopping as soon as we finish the catalog. Which is like the only thing she said that seemed like she listens and cares about Coraline's feelings. Also, don't forget the catalog. That will be very important for later. Coraline complains again about the food, and her dad, in a passive-aggressive tone, tells her either to eat or go to bed. And so she goes to bed. So that's literally all the information we get on her parents before Coraline enters the tunnel. And while it seems like not enough to understand her parents, it's also all the information Beldam got as well. You see, Beldam has been spying on Coraline this entire time with this Coraline doll. And this is all the information she got to be able to create the perfect reality, which would also mean it's the only information she would get to create the fake reality Coraline goes back to. So if she only got one little day of information on her parents, she has to be bound to mess up one thing, and we're gonna catch it. She goes through the tunnel, falls asleep, and wakes up. But the reality she wakes up in should, according to the theory, not be real. So finally we get to meet the fake parents. And honestly, I was wishing for their parents to be slightly altered to easily back up my theory, but sadly Beldam is smarter than that. So we have to focus on their actions. Honestly though, this interaction seems pretty normal. The dad tries to be funny again while the mom is very uptight and bossy. But there is one thing that is kind of suspicious. The mom tells Coraline to go meet her neighbors, which is also the exact same thing that happens in the other world on this exact same day. Also, Coraline never took the Coraline doll to the neighbors, so that would mean Beldam must have had the neighbors' idea planned before, and probably used this simulation to have Coraline go meet the worst versions of her neighbors, so then she can meet the better versions later. We also know that the neighbors have been living here for a very long time, so Beldam didn't need the doll to simulate them. Anyways, Coraline goes back into the tunnel and sleeps there and wakes up again. This time they're in a car, taking the dad to drop off the catalog, while Coraline and her mom go shopping. Now the same thing as before, her mom and dad seem pretty normal, but one thing that definitely does not seem normal is the people around them. The Beldam is locked away in an alternate reality with barely any human interaction, so she wouldn't know much about how humans act naturally. For example, the first people we see are these cosplayer looking dudes. One dude literally steps onto a parking meter and starts playing an instrument, while the other stands awkwardly with, I think, a sword. Maybe just weird people, right? No, that's not even it. While in the store, these kids fly down a flight of stairs on a stool. What? While screaming words I don't even know how to pronounce, which doesn't really seem like a realistic scenario for a kid to do or be able to do. But maybe something medieval is going on in the town, so maybe it's normal. But beside that, the next person we see is a person holding Coraline's mom's clothes, and she just has no idea what is happening. Like, what is she doing? Even when she goes to check out the clothes, she just stands at the cashier desk looking blankly at the clothes. Honestly though, people are just weird sometimes, and her parents are still acting the same, so it's hard to really figure them out yet. But Beldam surely has to slip up soon. So next, Coraline gets proposed the button ideal, and everything goes pretty bad in this reality. And this time, she finally escapes through the door for the first time rather than sleeping. When she gets back, her parents are gone. Even though they are gone, we're about to get the most evidence we have gotten the entire movie. Remember how just yesterday, Coraline's mom said she's gonna get groceries? Explain to me how when she comes to the kitchen, the groceries are rotten and gross? It takes approximately 5 days to a month for food to rot. So there's no way what Coraline saw yesterday could be real, because this food wouldn't be rotten. I think Coraline hasn't actually been home in days. Let me explain. So the first 2 times Coraline went back to her reality, she fell asleep, then woke up back in her supposed reality. But she never went back through the tunnel. So when she awoke, she was still in Beldam's reality. But now that she finally went back through the tunnel, she is back in the real world, which perfectly explains the rotten food. Now Coraline's parents are nowhere to be found until Coraline looks into a mirror and sees her parents locked behind it writing "Help us." Everyone believes that Beldam captured her parents and locked them away in this snow globe, but I actually think that's wrong. I think when Coraline's parents realized she was missing, they went through the tunnel to go look for her, since Coraline did show extreme interest in this door. Then once arriving in the world Beldam controls, she trapped them. Also, in my previous theory, I explained that this mirror was showing this because she was still in the simulation, but I think I was actually wrong. You see, mirrors are portals, and witches can actually use mirrors to send messages, which is exactly what Beldam did to lure Coraline back to her world, which worked by the way. She goes back into the other world and defeats Beldam, and travels back into the tunnel, which should mean she is back in the real world. False. So we know that Beldam was replacing the other world with a prettier one, which would mean the tunnel she leaves in here is how it actually looks. But how come in the end it looks different? She had no reason to cover it up the first or second time she saw the tunnel, so it should look the same, right? No. This is because after Beldam lost Coraline the first time, she couldn't let that happen again, which is exactly why she replaced the real tunnel with a fake one. If that doesn't make sense, let's go right back to studying her parents. As soon as she enters back through the tunnel, her parents somehow get back home at the exact millisecond she gets back. Also, let's not forget that when Coraline got back the first time, their car was left stranded in the front yard. So were they just like dilly-daddling somewhere in the backyard or something? Because they couldn't have drove home. Also, let's not let the fact that they're dripping with snow fly over our heads. There is no snow outside whatsoever. And while yes, they were in a snow globe, whatever, why are they acting so nonchalant about it? Even Coraline asks about it. What about the snow on your clothes? And the mom just says, "What's gotten into you, Coraline?" Also, if these are her real parents who went looking for her, they would be screaming with excitement and crying that they found their missing daughter. And let's not forget how her parents say we are going out tonight. Since when do they do fun things? Let's focus on the catalog for a second too. Her parents stated that they would go food shopping after they finished their catalog, right? Well, if the reality we were seeing before was real, that would mean Coraline's mom and dad just dropped off the catalog literally yesterday, and somehow their catalog has been accepted to be published in a day? We both saw how hard they are working on these pages. I don't know what world she's living in, but in no world do you get an entire catalog published in one day. It wasn't even a full day, by the way. It's like a half of a day. But anyways, it just seems so weird how happy and different they are. Not to mention all the neighbors being so friendly, calling Coraline by her real name, and being so nice. Also, we can't not talk about the fact that the cat disappears and her bedroom turns into some weird dreamscape where the three kids come in and talk to her. That's not realistic. But I don't know. I'm just overthinking.